What if I told you that the dream you buried 10 years ago is still alive? What if I told you that the idea you gave up on, the vision you dismissed, the version of yourself you stopped believing in, what if all of it is still waiting for you, right now, today, in this very moment? Because here is the truth that Napoleon Hill discovered after interviewing over 500 of the most successful human beings who ever walked this earth. He didn't find genius. He didn't find luck. He didn't find perfect circumstances or silver spoons or open doors. He found one thing. He found people who refused to let the dream die, refused to let the world bury what God placed inside them. And then he found something else, something darker, something that should shake you to your core. He found the other 99%, the people who had the dream, who felt it burn inside their chest, who whispered it to themselves in the dark, and then, slowly, quietly, painfully, let it go. Not because they failed, not because they weren't capable, but because they stopped. They simply stopped. This video is not about motivation. This is not a feel-good moment. This is a reckoning. This is a mirror held up to your face. And by the time we are finished here today, you will either be shaken awake or you will choose, consciously, to go back to sleep. The choice is yours. But the question I need you to sit with right now before we go any further is this. When you die, and one day you will, what dream dies with you? In 1908, a young man sat across a desk from one of the wealthiest human beings in American history. His name was Napoleon Hill. He was 25 years old. He had nothing. No money, no reputation, no guarantee that anything he was about to be told would ever amount to a single thing. And Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate, the man who built an empire from poverty, had leaned forward and said something that would take Napoleon Hill 20 years to fully understand. He said, "The secret to all achievement begins with a burning desire. Not a wish, not a hope, a burning desire." Napoleon Hill walked out of that meeting with a mission. Carnegie had given him no money, no resources, only an idea and a challenge. Go find the greatest minds of this generation, interview them. Decode the philosophy of personal achievement. Give it to the world. For 20 years, Hill worked. He struggled. He failed. He lost money. He lost relationships. He nearly lost himself. There were nights, and you need to understand this, there were nights where the doubt was so loud, so crushing, so relentless, that giving up felt not just reasonable but merciful, like putting a wounded animal out of its misery. And yet, he kept going. In 1937, he published Think and Grow Rich. It became one of the best-selling books in human history. It has sold over 100 million copies. It has changed the trajectory of presidents, billionaires, athletes, artists, and ordinary people who dared to become extraordinary. But here is what most people miss. Here's the part that gets edited out of the highlight reel. Before the triumph, there was a 20-year silence. 20 years of invisibility. 20 years of people asking, when is this going to work out for you? 20 years of the world not yet knowing who Napoleon Hill was or what he was building. And we live in a world today that cannot tolerate 20 months of silence, let alone 20 years. We want it fast. We want it visible. We want the validation before we've done the work. We want the harvest before we've planted the seed. And that, right there, is why 99% of people die without ever living their dream. Let me talk to you about the dream killers, not the enemies outside of you, not the critics, not the doubters, not the people who told you it couldn't be done. Those are not the real killers. The real killers live inside you, and they are sophisticated. They are intelligent. They disguise themselves as wisdom. They disguise themselves as responsibility. They disguise themselves as maturity. You know what they sound like. Be realistic. You're not getting any younger. Other people have tried this and failed. You have bills to pay. You have people depending on you. This is not the time, and the most dangerous one of all. Maybe one day. Maybe one day is the graveyard of human potential. Maybe one day is where dreams go to decompose slowly, quietly, without ceremony. You don't even notice it happening. That is what makes it so devastating. You don't wake up one morning and decide to abandon your dream. It doesn't happen like that. It happens in the small moments, the small surrenders, the day you don't make the call, the week you don't work on the project, the year you keep saying you'll start next month, and then one morning, and this is the moment that Napoleon Hill was warning us about 1. Morning you wake up and the fire is gone. Not dramatically, not with a funeral, just gone, like a candle that burned down to the nothing while you were sleeping. Think about the people around you. Think about the people you grew up with, the people you went to school with, the people you share meals with. How many of them had a dream once? How many of them lit up when they talked about what they wanted to create, who they wanted to become, what they wanted to build? And now look at them, not with judgment, with compassion, and with fear, with the healthy, honest fear that says, this could be me. This is me. This is already happening to me. Because the struggle is not dramatic. That is the cruelest part. The struggle doesn't announce itself. It doesn't knock on your door with a warning. It seeps in through the cracks of your daily routine. It wraps itself around you so gradually that it feels like normal. It feels like life. It feels like this is just how things are. Napoleon Hill called this the most common form of human failure. Not spectacular collapse, not dramatic destruction, but slow, silent surrender to the drift. Letting life happen to you instead of through you. And we are all, every single one of us, vulnerable to this. Every single one of us. But here's where it changes. Here's the moment that separates the 99 from the 1. It is not a miracle. It is not a lucky break. It is not waking up one morning with supernatural confidence and unstoppable energy. That is not how it happens. It happens in a single decision. A decision so quiet that nobody around you might even notice it. A decision that looks small from the outside but moves mountains on the inside. The decision to return. Napoleon Hill wrote about a man named Edwin C. Barnes. Barnes had one dream and one dream only. He wanted to become a business partner of Thomas Edison and the greatest inventor of the modern age. He had no money. He had no experience. He had no connection to Edison whatsoever. He had nothing but a burning desire. Barnes showed up at Edison's laboratory in New Jersey. He had scraped together just enough money for a train ticket. He walked in off the street, looked Thomas Edison in the eye, and told him he had come to go into business with him. Edison looked at this young man, ragged, penniless, unknown, and something in his eyes caught Edison's attention. Not his credentials, not his resume, his certainty, his absolute unshakable certainty. Edison gave him a small job, not a partnership, a job, barely above the level of a janitor, and Barnes took it. He worked that small job for 5 years. 5 years of staying close to the dream. 5 years of being in the right environment, doing whatever it took, waiting for the moment. And the moment came. Edison had invented a new dictating machine and couldn't get his sales team interested in it. Barnes stepped forward. He said he could sell it. Everyone else doubted him. He sold it across America, and Edison, true to his instinct, made Barnes his partner. Barnes became a millionaire from an idea he refused to abandon. But here is what I need you to understand. Here is the turning point I need you to feel in your bones. The turning point was not the partnership. The turning point was not the success. The turning point was the day Barnes decided to show up with nothing but a dream and a refusal to surrender it. The turning point for you, for us, is not somewhere in the future waiting to be discovered. The turning point is a choice. It is available to you right now. It was available to you yesterday. It will be available to you tomorrow. The question is whether you will choose it. Napoleon Hill spent a lifetime studying what separates those who live, their dream, from those who die, with it locked inside them. And what he found was not complicated. It was not secret. It was not reserved for the privileged few. It was 5 truths, 5 principles, 5 things that the 1% live by while the 99% ignore. The first truth: desire is not optional. It is the seed of everything. Not a wish, not a preference. A burning, consuming, relentless desire. Hill was specific about this. He said there is a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. Most people wish. They would like success if it arrived easily. They would like the dream if it didn't require sacrifice. They would like to become the person, as long as it doesn't cost too much. But the 1% don't wish. They desire. They wake up with it. They go to sleep with it. It lives inside them like a fire that refuses to be extinguished by rejection, by failure, or by the slow erosion of time. You have to ask yourself right now, honestly, without pretense, do you want your dream? Or do you want the idea of your dream? Because the world will test you. Life will apply pressure, and only a burning desire survives that pressure. The second truth. Faith is the bridge between the dream and the reality. This is where most people fall apart. They have the desire, they feel it burning. But the moment they look at their circumstances, the bank account, the current skills, the past failures, the gap between where they are and where they want to be, the fire begins to shrink. Hill called this the single greatest obstacle to human achievement. Not lack of opportunity, not lack of resources, lack of faith in oneself. Think about the Wright brothers. The world told them human flight was impossible. Not just difficult, impossible. Scientists said it. Engineers said it. Newspapers mocked them. And two brothers in a bicycle shop in Ohio, with no formal education in aeronautics, with limited funding and unlimited ridicule, they believed anyway. They believed when there was no evidence to support the belief. They believed before the proof. They believed their way into a moment that changed human history forever. Faith is not blind naivety. Faith is the decision to act on your vision before the world has confirmed it is possible. That is what it has always been. That is what it will always require. The third truth. Specialized knowledge will always defeat general dreaming. Napoleon Hill said this clearly, and we need to hear it clearly. Wishing and planning are not the same thing. Dreaming and preparing are not the same thing. The 99% dream in generalities. They say, I want to be successful. I want to be rich. I want to make an impact. These are not goals. These are fog. You cannot walk toward fog. The 1% develop mastery. They become students. They find mentors. They study their craft with the same obsession that others reserve for entertainment. They go deep when the rest of the world is going wide and shallow. Think about what Napoleon Hill did. He didn't just dream about understanding success. He spent 20 years in intensive study of it. He interviewed Henry Ford. He interviewed Theodore Roosevelt. He interviewed Alexander Graham Bell. He went deep into the specific knowledge required to deliver on his dream. What knowledge does your dream require of you? And are you acquiring it? Are you growing toward it every single day? Because desire without knowledge is like a race car without fuel. All the potential in the world going absolutely nowhere. The fourth truth. Persistence is the great separator. This one is non-negotiable. Hill said it plainly. He said that every successful person he had ever studied had one quality in common, above all others. Not intelligence, not charisma, not circumstance, persistence, the ability to keep going when every visible signal says stop. Think about what Abraham Lincoln endured. Failed in business, lost 8 elections, suffered a nervous breakdown. His life story reads like a catalog of defeat. And yet he became the 16th president of the United States and guided a nation through its darkest hour. What would have happened if Lincoln had stopped? What would history look like if he had accepted the verdict of his early failures as the final word? And I want to ask you something even more personal. What has already stopped you that shouldn't have? What verdict did you accept too early? What failure did you allow to become your identity when it was only meant to be your education? Persistence is not stubbornness. Persistence is faith in motion. It is the daily recommitment to the vision when the circumstances have not yet caught up with the decision. It is the most powerful force in human achievement, and it is available to every single person breathing on this earth. The fifth truth, the mastermind principle. You cannot do this alone. This is the one that pride will try to keep you from hearing. Napoleon Hill discovered that every single person he studied, every titan, every visionary, every world changer, had a group of trusted minds around them. People who challenged them. People who believed in them before the evidence was there. People who brought different strengths, different perspectives, different energies to the shared pursuit of something greater. Isolation is the enemy of greatness. You were not designed to carry the dream alone. You were not built to absorb every doubt, every setback, every creative block in total solitude. The dream needs community. The dream needs people who can see it when you temporarily go blind to it. Who is in your inner circle right now? And are they pulling you toward your potential or away from it? Because the people closest to you are either fueling the dream or slowly, silently suffocating it. Choose them carefully. Guard that circle fiercely. Build it intentionally. I want to tell you about someone who almost didn't make it. Not a president, not a billionaire, not a historical figure whose name you know. I want to tell you about you. I want to tell you about the version of you that was 10 years old, sitting in a room somewhere, dreaming about a life that felt electric and possible and wide open, the version of you that hadn't yet been told to be realistic, the version of you that hadn't yet collected a single rejection, a single failure, a single reason to doubt the fire inside your chest. That child didn't know the word impossible. That child hadn't yet learned to be afraid. What happened to that child? Life happened. People happened. Disappointment happened. And somewhere along the way, you started doing what the world does to all of us. You started editing yourself, shrinking yourself, fitting yourself into the shape that seemed safer, more acceptable, more guaranteed. You swapped the dream for the plan. You swapped the vision for the practical. You swapped who you were meant to become for who you could afford to be. And I am not here to condemn you for that. I am here to tell you that every single person who ever did something extraordinary with their life faced that same crossroads, every single one. The difference is not that they were braver than you. The difference is not that they had less to lose. The difference is that in the moment of choosing, in the quiet, private, devastating moment where the dream asked them to pay the full price, they said yes. They said yes to the discomfort, yes to the uncertainty, yes to looking foolish, yes to the long road, yes to the possibility of spectacular failure, because the alternative, dying without having tried, was a price too unbearable to pay. Napoleon Hill wrote these words, and I need you to feel them not just in your mind, but in your chest. He said that whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Not what circumstances allow, not what other people approve, not what the bank account currently reflects, what the mind can conceive and believe. Your dream is not too big. You are not too small. The window is not closed. The season has not passed. You are not too old. You are not too damaged. You are not too far behind. You are exactly where you are, which means you are exactly where the decision can be made. Right here, right now. This is the moment. This is the turning point that Barnes felt at Edison's door. This is the persistence that kept Lincoln standing after 8 defeats. This is the burning desire that carried Napoleon Hill through 20 years of silence into a legacy that outlived him by nearly a century. This moment, your moment, the dream is still breathing, even if you've neglected it, even if you've buried it under years of excuses and responsibilities and quiet resignation. It is still there. Because the dreams that are truly ours never fully die. They just wait. They wait with infinite patience for the moment we decide, finally, fully, completely, to come back to them. Come back to it. Please come back to it. We have come to the end of this moment together. But I need you to understand something before we part ways. This is not the end. This is not a conclusion. This is a beginning. The only question is whether you will let it be yours. 99% of people will watch something like this, feel something stir inside their chest, and then go back to the routine, back to the scroll, back to the comfortable numbness of a life lived below its potential. And in 3 days, this moment will be a distant memory. In 3 weeks, it will be gone entirely. That is the 99%. But you, I am talking to you now, the one who felt something in this, the one whose chest tightened when I talked about the dream you buried, the one who knows somewhere, beneath all the noise and distraction and busyness, that there is something inside you that has not been fully expressed. You are not here by accident. Nothing in this universe happens by accident. So here is what I am asking you to do. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when the conditions are right or the timing is perfect or the fear is gone. Because the fear will never be gone. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision that the dream matters more than the fear. Here is what I am asking. Today, on before this video ends, before you move on to the next thing, write down the dream. The real one. The one you stopped saying out loud because it felt too big, too impossible, too vulnerable to speak into the world. Write it down. Give it a name. Give it a date. Give it the dignity of being written rather than whispered. And then do one thing toward it. One small, concrete, undeniable thing. Make the call. Write the first paragraph. Register the course. Send the email. Take the step that you have been standing at the edge of for months. For years, telling yourself you are not ready. You will never feel ready. That is the secret they don't tell you. Nobody who ever did something that mattered felt ready when they began. They began anyway. and the readiness came through the doing, not before it. Napoleon Hill spent his life trying to hand us a key that opens the door between the life we are living and the life we are capable of living. He handed us the key in 500 pages of research, in decades of interviews, in a lifetime of devotion to this single truth. The key is desire. The key is faith. The key is persistence. The key is knowledge. The key is community. But a key means nothing if we never use it. You have been given gifts. Specific, irreplaceable, unrepeatable gifts that belong only to you. There is no one else on this earth, not now, not in history, not in the future, who carries your exact combination of vision, voice, experience, and purpose. What you carry is original. What you carry is needed. And every day you spend not becoming who you are meant to be is a day the world goes without something it was meant to have. That is not hyperbole. That is the weight of it. That is the responsibility of it. We are not talking about your happiness alone. We are talking about every person your dream was meant to touch, every life your work was meant to change, every ripple your courage was meant to send through the world. The 99% die with that. They take it to the grave, untouched, unexpressed, unknown. Not you, not today, not anymore. Napoleon Hill said it. Carnegie believed it. Barnes proved it. Lincoln lived it. The Wright brothers flew on it. And now it is your turn. The dream is alive. You are alive. And every single second that those two truths are simultaneously real, there is still time. There is still time. Go live it.